my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today's video is going to be my top mystery / thriller recommendations for anybody who is looking to get into the genre, you don't really know where to begin, or just general book recommendations that you want to add to your never-ending TBR. So I felt like this was the perfect opportunity to film it, as we are currently in autumn, even though it is still like 23 degrees, which baffles me, but it's fine. So I thought I would film this video, as I said, just to show you my top picks. As you can see from behind me, I have quite the stack, so it'd be quite a fun video to film, quite fitting for the season that we are in. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, don't forget to leave the video a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and don't forget to turn on the little post notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And with that said, let's just jump straight into the video. Just wanted to preface this video by saying that these are obviously all of my personal opinions. Not everybody likes these books, but some people do love them, and these are just the books that I really did enjoy. I read this book last year, and this was one of the books that got me really back into reading, because it was sort of as of last year that I really started to pick up books again. This was a very weird book. I would definitely recommend looking up the trigger warnings from this book, because there are some rather intense subjects that are sort of mentioned. But the general kind of book as a whole was really good, and that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now I know there's a lot of controversy with Colleen Hoover at the moment, you know, that is your opinion. However, this book is so twisted, it is ridiculous. When you sort of read the back, you wouldn't think anything of it. I can't 100% remember what happens in this book. I know that it was a 5-star read for me. If you want one of those super fast-paced, easygoing, I wouldn't say easygoing in the terms of the content of the book, but easygoing as in the sense it's like an easy book to read, and it's literally a page turner, I would pick this book up. It's definitely up there with one of the darkest books I've ever read. I'm not one to really read kind of twisted thrillers. That's not my typical type of book that I would pick up. However, it still is a very good book. It's still well written, and I think that there is an element of being up there with a good thriller book. I won't go too much into what happens. Lowen is like invited to their house to basically finish this book series that Jeremy Crawford's wife couldn't finish because she's ill. We start to uncover sort of this like manuscript that she wrote, which is supposedly like her autobiography, and there's things in it that kind of really quite dark and twisted, and we sort of follow this story of Verity writing the new books and her reading the manuscript at the same time, and there's like a love interest that sort of goes on in between, and it's all very kind of twisted and dark, but it is still really good. If you want a book like this, if it's sort of one that sounds like you would enjoy, then definitely pick this one up. I think you can find this pretty much anywhere now. There are a lot of reviews about it, and I feel like a majority of the reviews kind of say the same thing, that they really enjoyed it, but definitely look up the trigger warnings before you read this, because it does talk about some rather dark subjects. Next up, I mentioned this book in my autumn TBR and recommendations book, which is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This book is another one of those psychological thrillers. It's basically, I don't want to sort of say what it exactly is because it will spoil it. This is so, like, the plot twist in this book is spot on. Like, I've never really read a plot twist like it, and it's quite unbelievable, to be honest. If you believe in that sort of thing, then you will probably like this sort of book. I just felt like the way that Sager wrote this book was incredible. So we follow, I can't remember her name, Oh, that's right. We follow a widow called Casey Fletcher who has escaped to her family's lake house, basically. She is I believe she's in the public eye, so she's quite famous. I think she's an actress or something. She has a alcohol problem. She starts spying on her neighbours who live across the lake from her. She starts to like kind of see things, and she wonders whether they're actually like this perfect couple, and like lots of little things happen, and it is bizarre. It's so bizarre. It's definitely one of those page turners. Once again, I would definitely recommend this. I did rate this one rather low, I think. I have thought about it over and over and over again. Like, my initial rating of this one was 3 stars, but I think it is a 4-star. It's definitely a 4-star read. It was just, yeah, it was spine chilling, to be honest with you. And it's definitely one of those that if you want like a really spooky book, definitely pick this up. I would not recommend reading this in the middle of the night when everybody else is asleep in the house. I actually had to stop reading this at one point in the night because I was just like, this is too much. But I still really enjoyed it, and it's definitely one of those that's up there with some of my favourite mystery thriller books. We then have The Maid by Nita Prose. Now, this was circling around TikTok and Bookstagram around last year or the year before, I want to say. Basically, we follow a maid called Molly. She works in this hotel called the Regency Grand Hotel, and she basically walks in one room to clean and she finds a dead body in the bed. I think she ends up getting like sort of convicted for it, which is quite bizarre because she's like this very sort of quiet character. You don't see much of her, you don't know a lot about her, but it kind of follows a story of that. And I think it's definitely an atmospheric one, sort of being set in a hotel where lots and lots of people, like it's one of those, obviously a hotel is one of those buildings where there's a lot of life that lives in it. It's definitely one of those kind of atmospheric reads. It's super gripping. I remember reading this last year, so my brain's a little bit foggy with what exactly happened in here and the whodunit. It's definitely worth a read, and I really did enjoy it. I think I rated it 4 or 5 stars, I want to say. Definitely kind of up there with one of my favourite reads. I think I might actually reread it, to be honest, because it was one of those books that just had me flicking through the pages constantly. Like, I know a book is that good when I'm like reading the pages so quickly, but this is definitely one of them. So 100% worth a read if you are looking for something. This isn't as dark, so it's one of those books that I would say if you are new to the genre, definitely pick this one up, because it will kind of help you get into that kind of mindset of the genre, and it's not as twisted, it's not as dark, and you follow kind of just like a very normal person. I find a lot of these books, the characters like either famous or, you know, kind of got like a lot of history, whereas this is a very standard character. So I feel like this is one of the ones that you should definitely pick up if you are looking to get into the genre. We then have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I loved this. Now, I'm probably a bit biased purely because it was set in Paris, and Paris is one of my favourite cities. This was weird. I did somewhat guess what was going to happen. It was still very well executed. It's one of those, once again, that's quite atmospheric. We follow 5 characters and we follow each of their POVs throughout them living in this apartment block all together, and they all have this really kind of, they have this secret, and then there is this guest that comes to stay who is the sister of one of the residents of the apartment block, and one of them, like the brother, has basically gone missing, and she's trying to find what happened, like trying to find out what happened to him, and she starts sort of like interrogating all the residents of this apartment, and things obviously start to uncover, and it just works out, like it works out really well. This is another one I'm gonna have to revisit. I'm recommending all these books and I can't actually remember what happened to them, but it is a very good book. This was the first Lucy Foley book that I read. I really enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed this one more than The Guest List. I would would also recommend, this is the other one that I read by Lucy Foley. Now this one is perfect for this time of year. This is a super atmospheric book. We follow a wedding party who are getting married on the Irish coast. It's like, I can't remember what time of year it is, however the weather's obviously like, it's like thundering and all this sort of stuff, and we have a past and present timeline that we follow. They're like my favourite types of timelines to follow in these sorts of books. I find that you end up being a lot more gripped to it because you want to know what happened and you try and link everything up together. This is brilliant though. There's a lot of like hidden secrets that we uncover and things like that, and the characters are like super kind of gripping to, you know, like you want to know more about them and stuff. So this is definitely another one I would recommend. These two are also brilliant if you're getting into the genre. This one is definitely a little bit more spooky, and this one's a little bit more kind of flatter in that, not flat in a bad way, but flat in the sense that it's not as spooky. It's definitely still quite atmospheric, but this one, when you think that it's like set on a remote island in the Irish coast, it's thundering and nobody can sort of get off the island and things like that, like you can kind of imagine the sort of scenery behind it. But it is still really, really good. Both of them combined are really, really good. And I need to read, I'm yet to read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I do have it. I do indeed. I have it here. I'm yet to read this one, however I'm very much looking forward to it. Next up we have 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I read this one recently and I loved it. This was a 5-star, if not more, read. We follow 6 of them. They are on an RV trip. They basically break down in the middle of nowhere in South America or South Carolina, I think. They are the target of a sniper. They basically have to kind of, one of them holds a secret that the sniper wants to know. The sniper wants this person with this secret, and it is brilliant. I read this in 24 hours. It was so gripping. It was 100% a page turner for me. Loved it. I wouldn't expect anything less from Holly Jackson, to be honest. She is genuinely up there with one of my favourite authors. I think the way that she just writes her books are just incredible. They are genuinely so gripping. The characters are, most of them are fairly lovable, and I just love everything about her writing. So yeah, this is definitely one to read. It's definitely YA. This is 100% a YA one, but I love it. I'm obsessed with it. There's like a timeline that you follow in this book, so my challenge to you is to read it within this timeline. I didn't succeed because I'm not a night owl, but if you're one of those that is, and that you like reading in the early hours of the morning, then I definitely recommend you follow the timeline of this book. I feel like that makes it a lot more fun and a lot more spooky as well. I could talk about this book series for eternity, to be honest with you. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson is up there once again with one of my favourite book series in all. This is a YA. We follow Stevie Bell, who has been accepted into this academy called Ellingham Academy, and this academy is specifically for people with exceptional talent, basically, in different areas of things. For Stevie Bell, hers is solving crime cases from the past. So the way that the series kind of pans out is you follow the trilogy, which is Truly Devious, The Vanishing Stair, and The Hand on the Wall. And then we have 2 standalones that still follow the same characters but different crime cases. So we then have The Box in the Woods, which is them in their summer vacation after the 3 books. And then we have 9 Liars, which is her newest release, and we follow them going to London, which is very, very exciting. This book series has absolutely everything you could want in there. There's a subplot of romance in it as well, which I just loved. It's just one of those books, once again, that's so atmospheric. You're basically in an academy in Vermont, and you're like, the way I imagined it was like you're on top of a hill in a really creepy academy. There's just a lot going on, and basically Stevie Bell has to solve this crime that occurred years and years and years ago. It's about the owner of Ellingham Academy. It's about his wife and daughter. They go missing and all this sort of stuff, and it is genius. It's so, so good. I honestly loved every single minute of it, to the point where I literally want to reread this because it was just, it was so good. So good. Once again, one of those books, if you're new to the genre, I'd really recommend picking this up. There's just something about it that is brilliant. It's like a modern day Agatha Christie, which I just love. It would not be a book video if I did not feature this book. I will not ramble about it for long because I've spoken about this book multiple times, and it is a classic, and that is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Need I say more? This is a classic, which is why I would recommend it so much. Any Agatha Christie, I think, is definitely a good starting point for anyone. Her books are obviously sort of like written in a bit of Old English, so it takes a little bit more sort of comprehension to understand. However, it is still so good. I love it to this day. Every Christmas I reread it because it is just so amazing, and I have 3 copies of this book now. That's how obsessed I am with it, and I just love it so much. We then come on to The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. Now, she is one of my new favourite authors. She's currently in the middle of writing her 3rd book, I believe, which I'm very excited about. So she has The Sanatorium, she has The Retreat, which follow the same character, Ellen Warner, and I believe her 3rd book is going to follow Ellen Warner, although I'm not 100% sure on that one. In this book, we follow Ellen Warner, who is a detective who has gone to the Swiss Alps in this hotel to go for her brother's wedding. Basically, this hotel used to be a sanatorium, a tuberculosis sanatorium, and they sort of arrive in a storm, and then the next day, which is I think the day of the wedding, the bride goes missing. It's just so chilling and gripping. This is one of those that's so atmospheric. I'd probably say this is the most atmospheric book on my pile because it's set in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of the Swiss Alps, whilst it's snowing. They get stuck inside the hotel because of the snowstorm and the avalanches, and they can't get away, and Ellen Warner is the only hope for them to find her soon-to-be sister-in-law before the wedding. There's a lot of like truths that sort of uncover history from the original sanatorium to what the hotel is now and things like that, and it is just brilliant. And I would also recommend The Retreat, which is set on another remote island. We also follow Ellen Warner, but I think The Sanatorium is definitely my favourite still. There was just something about, I really enjoyed The Retreat, but there was just something about the atmosphere in this specific book that I just really liked. So definitely one of those to pick up if you're looking for another like really atmospheric, like if scenery and like plot is your thing, The Sanatorium is your go-to book. Next book I would recommend is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA murder mystery. We follow Pippa Fitz-Amobi, who is a 6th form student who basically wants to uncover the truth about the murder that happened 5 years ago from a girl called Andy Bell, and there's another like subplot of romance in this. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Truly Devious are on that same kind of line of, you've got like the academic side of it, you've got the teenage side of it, and you've got the sort of subplot of romance in it as well. Like, I feel like those 2 book series are really good if you are getting into the genre. This was one of those books. This book specifically got me into that genre. I love it. It's brilliant. I've read all 3 books. No more needs to be said on it apart from the fact, go read it. If you don't have a copy, buy one and then read it, because it's 100% worth a read. This was 5 stars, if not more, so definitely worth a read. And my last book, which I literally finished this morning actually, no, that's a lie, I finished last night, and that is The Family Upstairs by Jewell, who is another, like, a new favourite author of mine, I think. I literally finished this book last night. The minute I shut this book, I went on my phone, I ordered the 2nd book. This book, how do I explain it? We follow Libby, who is, it's her birthday, she's 25 years old, and she's basically just inherited this house that is in Chelsea, and it's like this multi-million-pound house, like a mansion basically. We follow 3 POVs during this time. We follow her POV, we follow Lucy's POV, and we follow Henry's POV. And Henry's POV is from the past, from like the 1980s to the 1990s, I think, up until basically we like meet Libby in the present day. There's so much that sort of goes on, and like Lucy and Henry are connected to this house, and Libby is also connected to this house. So she was the baby that was found in this house because there was like a death that happened, and when the sort of police and stuff came, she was the baby that was in the cot, like alive, and she had like a clean nappy on and things like this, when there were like parents downstairs who were dead. So it's kind of this whole like twisted story, and I'm still a little bit shocked as to kind of what happened. Like there's a really good plot twist in this, and I'm very excited to read the second book, so I feel like I'll definitely know more about this when I've read the second book. At the moment I still don't know what to rate it. I'm gonna rate it a 4 star. I was going to rate it a 3.75, and then I really started to think about it, and I started thinking to myself, this is definitely worth more than that. And it is so worth more than that. It's brilliant. Once again, I read this so quickly. It's one of those books, I mean the text is quite big anyway, but it's one of those books you can just read so quickly. It's a book you pick up, super fast paced, it's chilling, and it's atmospheric once again, and it is just brilliant. If that sounds like it's something you would like, I definitely recommend picking this up. 100% worth the read. It's literally been sitting on my shelf for ages as well, and I finally picked it up and I was like, okay, this is 100% worth the read, so definitely recommend. So those are all my book recommendations for you today. I hope you guys found some inspiration behind this, or as I said, if you're new to the genre, that you managed to find some books that would interest you. If you want to see any more of these sort of like book reviews and stuff, I think most of them are up on my Instagram, which I will link in the description box down below, so you can get a more in-depth review. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and don't forget to turn on the little post notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And with that said, I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye guys.